We will concentrate today law of diminishing margin returns and law of return to scale. These are two principles involved in the production process. So, production process is classified into two, short run and long run. In the short run, resources are only variable resources are increased in order to increase the production, while fixed factors are held constant. As a result, we can identify the changes in cost, especially average cost. So it is determined by the law of diminishing marginal returns. What does this theory imply? As number of labor, like variable factor, is added to a fixed factor of production, the marginal output of the variable factor diminishes eventually. So the production will increase continuously up to some extent, whereas the marginal production, simply marginal production means the additional production when additional workers are employed. So such an additional production diminishes after a certain point or after a certain number of workers are employed. So then the law of diminishing marginal returns includes two periods, as I told you: increasing returns and diminishing returns. Increasing returns and diminishing returns. Under the increasing returns, the marginal production of the variable factor increases gradually, but diminishing returns implies a reduction in marginal production of the variable factor. So then increasing returns actually implies a rise in productivity. So productivity increases gradually. Therefore, cost per worker, if not the output per input, variable input, is likely to be low. Therefore, the average cost curve in the short run decreases, as well as workers become less productive when diminishing return begins. So then productivity of workers are low, then less number of goods are only be supplied. As a result, average cost of labor is increasing. In other words, average cost per output increasing. So then we will understand two divisions of the law of diminishing marginal returns in such a way. So it says the production firm that engage in the short run utilize both fixed and variable factor inputs in the production. Actually, in the short run, firm has two resources, both fixed and variable factors. So then variable factor only, like labor, increases, while fixed factor like capital is held constant. So then these firms add increasing quantity of variable factors, factor example labor, to the fixed factor example capital in order to carry out their production. There is a certain predictable patterns of variation in the output when increasing quantities of variable input is added to a fixed factor, and this is explained through the law of diminishing marginal returns. When more of a variable input is added to a fixed factor in the short run by firms, when carrying out production in the short run, the marginal and average production of the variable factor starts to decline after a certain point. And this is referred to as law of diminishing marginal returns. So the theory, the definition, what I said before, the marginal output diminishes eventually. It will increase, but there is a reduction in the output after a certain point of workers are employed. So it says further, this is also called the law of variable proportions. The law of diminishing marginal return is based on under mentioned assumptions. Variable factor input are homogeneous. What does that mean? Workers have similar skills, then they supply a particular effort. It is somewhat unique. They will produce, each and every work producers can produce similar quantity. That's what homogeneous. But as number of workers are added, the productivity may change. Firstly, it increases, thereafter it will fall. So it says, secondly, constant technology prevails during the production process. It is true, technology, simply capital, even held constant. Number of machines, number of buildings, all other things are held constant. So it says, example, employing labor to cultivate an acre of land, fixed factor input, land, variable factor input, of course, labor. After this one, we do concentrate the table. We can use a particular table to illustrate the law of diminishing marginal returns. First of all, it says further explanation. As increasing quantity of variable factor labor is added to fixed factor, it says here land. Sometimes we can use capital. The availability of fixed factor per unit of variable factor gradually declines. When less number of labor is utilized in cultivating tea in the land, it is possible to obtain higher output in proportion to the number of labor employed. However, if excessive number of labor is utilized in cultivating land consisting 1 acre, the output that can be obtained could decline in proportion to the number of labor employed. Further, the output that could be obtained from a unit of variable input like labor will gradually decline and become zero or negative. The said predictable patterns in relation to behavior of output explained through the law of diminishing marginal returns. The same can further be explained through the table given below. It says a number of fixed factor like acre of land, it is fixed, but number of variable factor like labor increase gradually. Total production, it is TP or TPP, total physical product. As number of workers are zero, of course, output is zero. Then gradually it increases. Then there is a maximum output, 84, 84. Later on, output decreases. Total production even falls. Anyways, average production, simply, this is how we calculate productivity of labor. Total production divided by number of workers involved. Productivity of labor. Then the productivity even increases, then falls. Simply average production increases, then falls. When we come to marginal production, same pattern. It increases and fall. Even it has a negative value, also zero. Marginal production becomes zero when the total production reach its peak. Total production maximize, then marginal production is zero. How is marginal production calculated? Change in total production divided by change in workers. Simply 6, number of production increased due to a one worker, then 6. Likewise, calculation is here. Also, it became maximized when second worker employed. Average production maximized at fourth worker employed. When second worker employed, it may margin production maximized. When fourth work employed, average production reach its peak. So then we can identify such a relationship through a diagram as well. So according to the illustration given below, when more and more variable is added to a fixed factor, initially the total product goes up at an increasing rate, and then it increases at a diminishing rate. When the variable input is added further, the total product reach the maximum point and then starts to decline. There is a maximum initially it rises, then only it falls. So this theory cannot be changed by considering certain things what we come across in the practical world. We do more construct such a model by using assumptions. So then this theory should be followed. So then further it says there are 3 distinct stages in the short run production. Initially output increases at an increasing rate, then it increases at decreasing rate, and then falls. This is about total production. Rises gradually at increasing, then it rises but decreasing rate. Later on declines. So likewise, the decline means at the same time marginal production negative. That means fall in the production. When total output increases at an increasing rate, the marginal product of variable factor increases and reaches maximum point when the rate at which total product increases gradually diminishes. The marginal product curve comes down and it moves through the maximum point. Average product curve at highest point, average product curve, marginal product variable factor is equivalent. Average product of the variable factor, when the total product become maximum, the total product is equal to 0. It actually concentrate particular pattern, the way of behaving average cost, average production, and the marginal production. So then this is the diagram. If we illustrate, total production has 3 phases. Production rises at increasing rate. Once again, production rises at decreasing rate. Thereafter, total production falls. So total production reach its peak here. When it happens, marginal production is 0. This is the marginal production. So the marginal production is given, increases quickly when second worker employed. It is highest. Total production is highest when second worker employed. As well as when fourth worker employed, it's here. Average production is highest. As well as our marginal production goes through the maximum point of the average production. So this is the behavior of cost curves. So this kind of relationship can be seen in the short run production cost. As well as it says further down, if it is possible to increase the fixed cost, fixed factors as amount of variable factor input is increased, then possible to prevent marginal product from declining. What does that mean? When the number of workers are added gradually, when the marginal production increase, number of workers added gradually, then marginal production reach somewhere here. That means workers are really less productive. It is possible, this can be changed. What is the method? By changing fixed factors. What are the fixed factors involved in this operation? Land, capital. These factors can be changed. If so, the production period can be converted into long run. Right now, firm is operating in the short run. If these factors are changed, it becomes long run. So it says further, however, it is not possible to change fixed factors in the short run. So then fixed factors can be changed only in the long run. Therefore, when more and more variable factor is added to a fixed factor in the short run, these 3 types of production could be identified in the production process. So the particular things, what we realize from the production, already we discussed total production, means total output of a product produced. Then the total production has 3 periods, what we realized before. So it says here, when increase in quantity of variable factor is added to a fixed factor, the amount of output produced over a given period is referred to as the total production. Then the average, simply average production means productivity of workers. So the productivity uh, is calculated when total output divided by number of variable input. In other words, number of workers. Even there is a average production increases initially, then it falls. So it says here, the total output per unit of variable input is referred to as the average product of variable factor. It can be derived. It can be derived by dividing total product from number of input, number of units of variable input used. Then average production means total production divided by variable input. Then the next one, marginal product. What does the marginal product imply? Additional output due to an additional worker recruited. So it says when one more unit of variable input is added, the change in the amount of total output is referred to as marginal product of variable factor. Simply additional output due to an additional worker. So it says further here, when all else remain constant, when the change in total product is divided by the change in amount of variable factor. The marginal product of variable factor can be derived change in total product, change in variable factor. So what does change? Always difference. We compare with the previous one, the output, then take the difference. That's how change of total product is captured. Then divided by change in number of workers. So we calculate additional output due to an additional worker employed. So this is called the law of diminishing marginal returns. This happens in the short run. Based on such a theory, average cost, marginal cost are also U-shaped. Average production, marginal production, Here the peak point. Here the peak point. Average cost. Marginal cost. This is the relationship actually, marginal production and average production. So average cost and marginal cost is a reflection of marginal production and average production. As well as when MP equals AP, MP equals AP, MC equal AC. When the average cost falls, necessarily marginal cost exists below the average cost curve. So these are essential properties of these two curves. This is about short run production cost. Now we do concentrate long run production cost. In the long run, production cost depends upon the law of return to scale. The law of return to scale. So long run means a period where all the factors or all the inputs are increased in order to increase the production. Earlier we look at only variable factor. Now we do concentrate all the factors. Therefore, we use a common word, inputs. So do we consider input-output relationship, input-output relationship under the law of return to scale in the long run. So then we will realize 3 periods as usual: increase in return to scale, decrease in return to scale, and constant return to scale. Actually, what do these periods concentrate? The relationship between input and output. When the percentage change in total output is greater than the percentage increase in total inputs, it is called increasing return to scale. It will benefit the firm because average cost falls gradually in the long run. Then the decrease in return to scale is where the total production is increasing by a smaller percentage than the increase in total inputs. Therefore, average cost in the long run decreases. In the constant return to scale, both inputs and outputs are the same. Percentage increase in inputs is equivalent to the percentage increase in output. This is how we do realize the law of return to scale. So it says here, in the long run, production firm could change all the factors all the factor inputs used in the production. The law of return to scale explains how total product behaves when all the factor inputs used in the production becomes variable input. So actually in the long run, there are no any fixed factor. All the factors are said to be variable. So it can, earlier in the short run, of course, we knew that only fixed factor, only variable factor changes, but fixed factors remain constant. Right now, all the factors are increased. So then, in the long run, there are no division of fixed and variable factors. The production firm has the ability to change the overall production capacity in the long run. This can be categorized as increase in return to scale, decrease in return to scale, constant return to scale. The real gains the firm can obtain due to the improvement in the level of efficiency in utilizing factor inputs as they expand the production capacities is referred to as return to scale. So first point, it says increase in return to scale. Actually, this is we can say another word for this, economies of scale. Economies of scale. Increase return to scale or economies of scale. If the increase in total output is proportionately higher than the increase in factor inputs, then the firm is experiencing increase in return to scale. Then example is given, output increased by 50%, but input increased by 20%.